Well, hello there. How are you doing? Thank you for joining me here tonight, Monday, live from the grooming table. I love what we do together here today. We have built a community of pet owners, pet lovers, pet groomers, home groomers, professional groomers who come to one place for good, solid, sound advice, safe advice on dog grooming, where to get products, how to use them, what's good, what isn't good. It's all here on Go Groomer, and that's the community that we have built. And so many of you and your pets are benefiting from it. It's amazing. Tonight's topic is just in time. Why? Because it's so hot, depending on where you live. I know. So, I thought, wow, I really got to talk about this topic. I walk my dog around the development and I see a lot of pets in summer haircuts. And some are really nice summer haircuts, and some I'm thinking, oh man, that's too much. That's too much. What do I mean by that? I mean, there is such a thing as a safe summer haircut and an unsafe summer haircut. So I'm going to give you all the goods tonight. I'm going to tell you what my summer haircuts as a professional, what blades those are, what blade choices, why do I choose those blade choices? Why do I not choose certain blade choices when I'm talking about a summer haircut? And aside from that, it also goes into what is the dog that I'm working with? What is the breed? It could even be a mixed breed. If it's a mixed breed, I like to look at what is it mixed with? Is it a Maltese poodle? So I know, well, a Maltese has got a drop type silky coat, but a poodle can have a pretty thick, dense, curly coat. Then, knowing what I know about the mixed breed, I take a look at the dog in front of me and I say, okay, Sunshine, you definitely have a silky drop coat. So, it's identifying the coat, and then deciding what is safe, what is the best thing to use. Now, tonight, I'm also going to tell you guys some specific things to be concerned about when it comes to giving your dog a summer haircut, or should you give your dog a summer haircut. And if you do, and I'm not saying that summer haircuts are bad. We're just coming out of 99-degree temperatures, and humidity was extremely high. And that's in Pennsylvania. I can only imagine in other parts of the United States and the world, because we come from all over the world here, the types of temperatures that you're experiencing too with your pets. So that's why I'm making this video for you here tonight, so you understand the safety about choosing the right haircut for your pet in the summertime. And if you take your dog to a groomer, I'm going to help you explain to your groomer, maybe give them some suggestions of blade choices that are going to be safe. Okay? So you have a hand in this, you say, hey, let's talk about this. So why you shouldn't clip your dog's coat too short in the summer. That's really what we're focusing on, is what is too short? And should you give your dog a summer haircut? So I will run through some things. I think I'm going to run through them first, okay, before we get into talking about coat types and identifying what is safe with different coat types, what blade sizes. And I have blades here that I'm going to talk to you about and show you the differences. And then you can understand why it would make a difference to choose blade A or blade B for your pet, okay? I want you to come out of here with a grand knowledge of summer haircuts. This is going to be worth it. So let me run through some of the things that we need to always be concerned about when it comes to considering giving a dog a much shorter haircut than we usually would go with that dog. And the reason is to help cool the dog off in the summer. But there's some things that we got to be aware of, and that will play into our blade and our guard comb choices for what is the right summer haircut for that dog, for your dog, okay? And then don't forget, at the end of the video, I'm going to be taking your questions. So as we are experiencing summer right now, I'm sure you guys have a lot of questions with what should I choose for my dog as a summer haircut? What specific breed do you have? So we can get into that together. I like to help you guys out. That's what we do live from the grooming table. The live from the grooming table videos are only going to be open to any subscriber or follower for about 2 weeks, and then they get turned on to members only. So I have a whole library of past live streams that only my channel members, my hounds, can watch. So that's why you guys see them disappear. If you're not a channel member, you can watch this live stream for a couple weeks, then I will turn it on to only members, and they get that whole library. And then we keep creating new content here live from the grooming table. So that's what we do. So let's talk about things to consider, okay, if you want to give your dog a haircut, a summer haircut, meaning shorter than normal. You're feeling like my dog is hot, I got to cool him down. He's got all this fur, I got to cool him down. Okay, well, I can get behind that ideology a bit. I just recently did give Gus what I call summer haircut. But what did I use? I used a 3/8 inch guard comb. That's what I used. That was his summer haircut. And I'm going to tell you why. I could have zipped it all off with a 7, but there are things to be concerned about with that. It may have been okay. But here are the things to be concerned about if you go too short. With certain breeds, a 5 would be too short, a 5 blade. This is a 5 blade. Certain breeds, this would be too short. Certain breeds, a 7 blade would be too short. And it just depends. And we're going to explain that right now. So one thing to be concerned about is I want to plant this idea in your head before we go any further, is that your dog's fur, their coat, we call that their coat. So their fur, their coat, their hair, it protects the skin. That is the job of a dog's fur, for their coat, their fur coat, their fur. It's to protect the skin, okay? It's very important that dogs have fur. Why don't we have fur? Well, I'll tell you the difference between our skin and your dog's skin. Your dog's skin does not have as many layers to it as ours has. So they have like 3 layers of skin, if I'm correct, 3 layers, and they're thicker than our layers of skin. But they don't have as many layers to their skin as we do because they have fur. So the fur has a job. So we have to show a little bit of respect to the fur. They have it for a reason. It is to protect their skin. So one thing, if we go too short, say we took a 10 blade and shaved a poodle. Now, here again, if you're doing a continental clip in the show ring, they shave it with a 40. So I get it. You're like, okay, well, that's too short. Well, it is, but we're talking about pet trims. We're talking about when you bring your pet to a groomer, you want the groomer to make good decisions for your pet, right? Because they live a happy life of playing outside, going everywhere with you, sleeping in your bed, doing all the things, riding in our cars. They go everywhere with us. They're our pets. So the one thing to keep in mind, to consider when you say, I want my dog to have a summer cut, is the fact that dogs can get sunburned. They can, and they can, sunburn leads to cancer, guys, for them and for us. So their fur, their coat, really is their protection from the sun. So we don't want to take so much that they're going to be exposed to the sun, because they still like to be out. Now, I get it. When it's 99 degrees like it was the last 3 weeks here, I only had Gus out when he needed to be, and we were back in the house. It was too hot for him, and I was not going to even... He would have followed me around doing yard work if I let him, but I wouldn't let him do it. It was too hot. So obviously we monitor our dogs in the heat anyway. I get it. But that is one thing to be concerned about, is that your dog's skin can get sunburned. And let me just make a point to say that our dogs that are, usually our white dogs, tend to have fair skin. So our Maltese, our Bijans, even white poodles, they tend to have very pink skin. Did you ever notice that? Versus, say, a black poodle, if you look at their skin, it's more white, gray color. But our light color, our white dogs typically have pink skin. And I want that to be a little heads up to you guys, to let you know that those dogs with very pink, fair skin like that, they can burn a lot quicker, a lot easier. And if they have a thin coat and not a lot of hair, like a Maltese, they have a thin coat, then that skin can get exposure. So with a dog like that, we got to be careful of our blade choice or our guard comb choice when it comes to giving them a summer haircut for sun exposure. Another thing to worry about, if you go too short for your dog with the summer cuts, is that fur, we just explained that it's there to protect the skin, but their fur also regulates their body temperature. We regulate our body temperature by sweating, right? Dogs don't sweat like we do. We'll get a pool of sweat on us, and that water that our sweat is cooling down our skin so that we don't overheat. It's very important. We still can overheat if we remain out there in the hot sun and sweat until we sweat it all out. But that's what our sweat, they don't have that option. They have fur to regulate their body temperature. So if we take it all off, it's very hard for them to regulate their body temperature, even in heat, guys. So what I'm saying is, if it's cold or if it's hot outside, that fur helps, their skin gets to a temperature and their fur keeps it there, whether it's in the summer months when it's hot or if it's in the winter months when it's cold, or it's just in between and it's just absolutely beautiful out. Doesn't matter. That's what their fur does. It helps to regulate body temperature. So we can't take it all off. Say with a 10 blade, we can't do it. And I don't recommend, I'm giving you all my recommendations, guys, of all my studies and all of my external education and continued education that I've done over the years, 20 years, more than 20 years of grooming pets professionally. But not only was I grooming pets professionally, I am very passionate about learning everything I can about what I do, because I want to know that I'm doing the best I can for the pets and the pet parents, setting them both up for success. So now we know the fur protects them from sunburn. It also helps to regulate their body heat, their body temperature. The fur also has another very important job. Dogs, they have what we call natural oils. Another name for that is their sebum. And their natural oils, called sebum, is produced from their skin, from their follicles, their pores, from their skin. And their natural oils play a very heavy role in protecting their skin and their coat. The coat helps to distribute those natural oils through the coat, and also when we brush them, it helps distribute those natural oils. The dog's natural oils produce actually antifungal properties as well as anti-inflammatory. So when your dog's got really dry, itchy skin and stuff, could be an oil problem that we're not paying attention to their natural oils and trying to preserve them. Their natural oils can, keep their skin at a healthy, happy place. No allergies, no itchiness, not over dry, not over oily. So their oils are so important. And what the fur does, the coat, which we're getting ready to cut off with a summer cut, that's why we got to be very picky about how much of that coat we take off. Their coat helps to distribute that throughout their skin and keep a natural balance. So that's one thing else. That's another thing I want you guys to always be concerned about and know about when you're thinking of giving your dog a summer trim and how short should you go. And trust me, I'm going to tell you in a minute what I recommend for a summer haircut, blade choices. So another thing that I'm pre-gaming here with you guys. I'm pre-gaming. You like it? We're pre-gaming here. I'm giving you the knowledge before we get down and start talking about shaving that coat off, okay? Another thing that your dog's coat does is it does actually protect them from bug bites, insect bites, even mosquitoes, parasites like fleas and ticks. Their coat protects their skin from that. We don't have that. I just got bit really bad by some bugs. I didn't even know what they were. They were in our backyard. They're called deer flies. Does anybody know what they are? Well, apparently I had this terrible allergic reaction to them. My hands swelled up so big, I couldn't even make a fist. I got bit on both hands. How rude was that, right? So anyway, I had to find out about these bugs, and I was thinking about it after, and it was so painful and it was so itchy for, I'd say 3 whole days. It's the only thing that my head was consumed with. I'm just so uncomfortable right now. I'm itchy, it burns. For like 3 days, it was terrible. And I was thinking, my dog is walking around out there with me in our yard. And I'm thinking, but I don't see him, getting bit or bothered, but he has an amount of coat on him, even though he has a summer trim. And it reminded me that his coat is protecting his skin, and I don't have the protection that he does. So I was getting bit up, but it does protect. So I'm giving you some food for thought here, guys, some things that your dog's fur does do. So we don't want to take it all off with our summer cuts. We want to protect the skin somewhat because it does protect them from insects, and insects can be really bad, and dogs can actually have allergic reactions. The way I had a reaction to those deer flies, my dog could have had a reaction to them too. So it could be very, and I got to tell you, it was very, I was so uncomfortable with these bites. So, and that's what they would feel too if they were allergic to it and had a reaction. And another thing that I want to remind you that your dog's fur does for your dog, one of the jobs is, so picture, I don't know, I would have a feeling that a lot of you right now could look down beside your feet and see your dog laying beside your feet on the floor, right? My dog would be, but I had to send him upstairs because his dad was getting ready to come home and he was going to bark and carry on. So I was like, you got to go. It's a live stream and we can't do that to our friends' guests. And he's very upset and sad. But he would be sitting right there at my feet if he wasn't shut away from me right now. And what he'd be laying on is a hard surface floor. It doesn't seem to bother him. He lays there all the time, wherever. He'll lay on the porch. If I'm sitting on the porch, he just lays there. But this is something we don't often think about, but their fur actually provides a little bit of comfort and cushion between them and hard surfaces. So taking it all off, like really short, it might be a little uncomfortable for them laying on that concrete porch or on your hardwood floor or your bathroom tile or whatever, So that is another thing that their fur does for them, is it's like permanent cushion that they carry around with them on their body to keep them comfortable when they're laying, or so they don't rub their legs on the floor. Their fur is protecting their skin when they go to get up. The fur's there to protect it. So that's another reason to respect the fur. That's one thing it does. And here's another thing I just want to throw out there, because I have noticed it as a groomer. One thing that taking a dog too short, especially if they don't typically wear a short haircut and you go real short on them, I've seen this happen. Dogs really get uncomfortable in their head space. They're used to that protection. I'm not saying, if they're matted, whatever, you got to take it off, and sometimes that's when you'll see it. When you shave a matted dog, they really act like, it's like they feel completely exposed, but you can see it in their psyche that they're feeling the difference because we took the coat off. So if your dog doesn't often wear a pretty short haircut, you may see that happen. So that's why I threw it out there. I wanted you guys to know that does affect their psyche sometimes, depending on, do they ever wear a short haircut? And then all of a sudden they do. So now I want to talk to you, first things first, and you guys know me and I know you. We all know what coat types we will never ever clip with any size blade or guard comb. I will never use a blade or a guard comb on a double coated dog. Now, we've done many videos about it. I don't think you need me to get too deeply into this, but if you do, somebody can throw the question in and I will answer it when we're done here talking and having our lesson. But double-coated dogs, that coat has a very, very, very big purpose. And it is not the same as a dog that continuously grows hair and just requires a haircut. A double-coated dog does not continuously grow hair. They have an undercoat and they have a top coat. And both those coats need each other big time. So we can't mess with the top coat and bring it down to the short undercoat. It messes it up. Double-coated dogs need their coat for all the things we just talked about, but they heavily rely on it for body temperature regulation in the heat and in the cold. They need their undercoat. It's a filter between their skin and the atmosphere. So that we're going to take out of the scenario. If you have what's a double coat? A golden retriever, a Bernese mountain dog, a Sheltie, a collie, a Samoyed, I can go on all day, a Pomeranian, Jenny, she knows. We don't shave them. We don't. Sometimes there are medical reasons and it's suggested by vets that we shave these dogs to treat the skin. But I'd say that would have to be the worst case scenario for me to ever shave my double-coated dog. I would never do it. I wouldn't. The bathing and conditioning and the brushing is the way I would go. So now we're talking about summer haircuts. We already know we are not talking about double coats today, right? Because we aren't cutting those. No way, no way. We're not cutting the double coats. All right, so moving on. Now, how do I determine? Let's say I groom a lot of poodle mixes, so I have a lot of poodle-y type coats. The doodle is a poodle-y type coat, so it's similar to a poodle. Sometimes a doodle coat is actually just like a poodle coat, depending on the breeding. But so I do a lot of those. I do a lot of silky drop-coated dogs, like a lot of Yorkies, a lot of Maltese. A lot of the Havanese that I groomed had very much of a drop coat instead of a poodle-y curly coat. So when it's time for their parents, they come in for that, it's June, it's hot. We would normally be doing like a 3/8 or a 5-inch guard comb on the body and the legs and a nice pretty hand scissored head. Normally, not a summer cut. Now they say, I want her shorter. I want her shorter for the summer so she can enjoy, whether it's going out on the boat with us or walking in the woods, her coat won't need as much maintenance because it'll be shorter, but I would like to cool her down. So what I suggest, so we're talking about a dog with a thin coat. Remember that pink skin I was talking about earlier? That's our Maltese. That's our Bijans. So I don't like to go any shorter. For a summer cut, a summer trim, I don't like to go any shorter than 1/4 of an inch or a number 4 blade. But oftentimes I prefer to use a guard comb instead of a blade on those drop coats because it clips nicer. So if a number 4 is pretty much equivalent to a 1/4 inch guard comb, which is, you can see it says a 1/4 inch, it's a number 4. And your 4 blade leaves about the same exact length as a 1/4 inch guard comb. So if I was trimming a Maltese and Mom said, go as short as you feel is safe on my Maltese for the summer, what would I do? I would go with the 1/4 inch guard comb on the body and the legs. And then I would use about a 5/8 inch guard comb, which is here. I would use about a 5/8 inch guard comb to trim, set the length on the head and the muzzle, and then I would hand scissor that. So it would have a nice round face. I would leave a nice pretty fluffy tail that I would hand scissor, and I would take from the back of the neck all the way down the body, all the way down the legs, down the chest, with the 1/4 inch guard comb as a summer cut. This is why I've just done so many of those trims. And it always works out well because, see, a 1/4 inch is still going to leave this much fur. And that much fur is still enough to do all the things that we just discussed. Protect from the sun, cushion the dog, protect their skin when they're laying down, to regulate their body temperature. It's still leaving this much coat. So it's still going to leave some barrier there for the skin to allow the fur to do what it's supposed to do. And a 1/4 inch guard comb on a Maltese actually looks pretty short because they don't have a thick coat. Your thick coated dogs with a 1/4 inch guard comb tend to look a little more fluffier because they have more of a dense coat like a poodle. But your Maltese, they don't. They have a thin coat. So when you cut that with a 1/4 inch, it's pretty darn short, and I would never go shorter than that. 1/4 inch for a Maltese. I can do it. I would never go shorter than that. Or a Yorkie. Same coat type, really. So now let's talk about, well, what about, let's say, our heavier coated dogs, like our Cocker Spaniels. And Cocker Spaniels get very hot in the summer because they actually have a very thick skin and they're a heavier boned dog. So they're moving more body around and they have a thick coat. They definitely do. So for a Cocker Spaniel, it is safe to use a number 7 blade on a Cocker Spaniel. Unless for some reason they don't have a very thick coat, then maybe you would want to choose a 5 blade. But it's safe to use with the lay of the coat, the way that coming down the dog from the head, falling off the body, that's the direction you clip in. A number 7 is safe, definitely, and it will cool them down, and they grow very fast, our Cocker Spaniels. So that would be okay. Now, what about a poodle or a doodle? I prefer, when I'm talking summer trims, for poodles and doodles or anything mixed with a poodle, which there's so many, especially these days, anything mixed with a poodle that tends to have a coat that resembles a poodle type coat, I would still prefer to not go any shorter than that 1/4 inch. It just leaves enough barrier, but it definitely takes the coat pretty short. I mean, they look like they got a summer haircut. There's no doubt about it. But it's a comfortable length for them to wear, and it still protects them from those silly bug bites and you name it. So I'm very glad that when I gave Gus his summer trim, I chose to give him his summer trim with a 3/8 inch guard comb. This is the one that I used for Gus. So you can see it says 3/8. Let me turn it the right way. See that? And that leaves this much coat. So you can see the difference. 1/4 inch and 3/8. The 3/8 is going to leave a little more hair. So after I saw the bugs that were getting us outside here in the woods, I was really happy that I went with the 3/8 of an inch. But if you were doing a doodle, poodle, you know, or Cavajan, those types of dogs, a 1/4 inch would be a nice summer cut. It's definitely going to cool them down. It's definitely going to be noticeable. And my rule of thumb with trimming when you use guard combs, and this is not just for a summer cut, for any cut. So when we're giving a dog a haircut, the length that I use on the body and the legs, in this case is a 1/4 inch, how do I know what length to set the top of the head, the cheeks, and the muzzle with? I go 2 guard combs higher. So 2 guard combs higher from a 1/4 inch is going to be a half inch. So a half inch or 2 to 3 guard combs. So I would go 5/8 would be my ideal for to set the top of the head if I used a 1/4 inch guard comb. So if you use the 5/8, you set the top knot, you set, it's still too long, then step it down to the half inch. And that would probably be your number. So this is 2 sizes higher than your body blade, which is going to be your 1/4 inch. And then that's going to give you the difference of a fluffier head versus a shorter body. So 2 sizes higher than what you set the body and the legs with is what you will set your head with. You can go 3 sizes and see what you think, which in this case would be the 5/8. And then say, no, that's still too much. At least if you went longer first, you can still go shorter. So don't go for the 2 sizes right away if you're not sure if you're going to like it. Then go for 3 sizes higher from what you did the body and the legs with on the head. See what you think. If you don't like it, you can easily shorten it up with 1 step lower on your guard combs. So that's why I always encourage you guys to have the whole sets of guard combs, like buy a whole set so you can play around with these sizes. So, you know, in the majority of the year, you may really enjoy keeping your dog in with the 3/8 inch length on the body and the legs. And then come summer, you may say, I'm going to go a little shorter. We're going to go to the 1/4 inch. And that's okay. 1/4 inch still leaves plenty to protect their skin from all the things that we just talked about. And it's still short enough to really make a difference for the dog, really. So it's nice to have the whole set of the guard combs. They come in an 8-piece set. And then you can play around throughout the year with the different lengths that you like, you know, to kind of align with the different seasons. You know, if it's colder out, you might want them longer, 1/2 inch, 5/8 inch, maybe even on the body and the legs, and go even higher on setting the length on the head. So I definitely encourage you guys to have the whole set instead of just buy 2 guard combs and then you want to do a summer trim and you don't have the right equipment to do it. And the whole set is what, $32, $40 or something. It's just nice to have them, right? Then you have them. So that's my recommendations on that. Say dogs like our pattern set dogs. Sometimes we put a pattern set on a Cocker Spaniel, on a Westie, on a Schnauzer. Those are pattern sets. Even Yorkies, we do a pattern set, meaning it's shorter on the body. We usually use a 7. No shorter than a 7 on the pattern set. And believe me, it's pretty short. You can still do that. That is okay. It's safe to use a 7 on your dog's pattern set, as we just talked earlier about the Cocker Spaniel. If you want to shorten up your Schnauzer in the summer, then you could maybe do a 1/4 inch on their legs and their furnishings. So now they have an overall shorter trim. We always do the 7 on the pattern set, but now instead of nice full fluffy legs, we're doing a 1/4 inch, or maybe we'll go to a 3/8 or a 1/2 inch on the legs and the furnishings, just to tidy them up a little for summer, keep them a little cooler, a little easier to maintain with brushing. So that's okay because it will grow back. So that would be a summer trim idea for, say, either a Cocker Spaniel or a miniature Schnauzer, any dog with pattern sets. Go with your 7 blade to set the pattern. Choose maybe a 1/4 inch or 3/8 inch to take the hair off the legs and the furnishings to shorten it up. And that's a summer trim for your Cocker Spaniel or your Schnauzer. So those were pretty much always my rule of thumb. A lot of my clients over the years really wanted their dogs really short. And when I was new to grooming, I knew from my education that I never wanted to go shorter than a 7 blade. I already knew that. But I also saw that when I was performing these 7 blade short cuts on these dogs, that it really isn't necessary. The difference between a 1/4 inch guard comb and got every blade here, and a 7 blade isn't huge, but there is a difference. So why not just use the 1/4 inch? Because as far as to the comfort of the dog, I feel like leaving a little more like this with the 1/4 inch versus really getting it down there short with a 7 blade, I feel the dog is better off to have that little bit of fur and they're still cooled off. It's still a short haircut. So there's really no reason to go so short unless your dog is matted. And that's another thing there. When a dog is matted, like to the skin, and they're pretty tight mats, I have to use a 7 blade. I have to. It's the only blade, no guard comb is going to get through a mat. You can't get a guard comb through mats. It will never work. And the only blade that's short enough, but not too short, to get between the skin and the mats is a 7 blade. A 10 blade will, but it's too short. That's what I'm trying to explain to you. A 10 blade leaves them very vulnerable in those hot summer months. They have no protection now for their skin. A 7 blade leaves just enough, but when it comes to the matted dogs, we don't have a choice. We have to take it off with a 7 because that's the longest blade that'll get through it. The longest blade. And I prefer a 7 over a 10 blade for matted dogs because, believe it or not, the teeth of a 7 blade are spaced further apart. I don't have a 10 blade in front of me. Oh yes, I do. It's on my clipper. So if you look at the spacing of the teeth on my 10 blade that's on my clipper, and then you look at the spacing of the teeth on the 7 blade teeth are further apart, slightly further apart. What that helps with is getting between the mat and the skin. That little bit of teeth spacing in there makes all the difference. But if I would go up to a 4 blade, I'm never going to be able to get the fur through this much of the mat to get to the cutting edge of the blade. It has to be a 7 blade. So you can see this is a 7, this is a 4. You see how wide right here the 4 blade is? It'll never go through mats. It'll just stop in the coat. You'll never get it through. So that's pretty much my best recommendations for summer haircuts for your dogs. I don't want you to feel like it's wrong to shorten up a dog a good amount in the summer. It's not wrong. Of course, if it's a double coat, it's wrong. But we don't do that. We know better. If it's a dog that has a very thin coat, so in other words, their skin is kind of always exposed anyway, be very careful with how short you go because it'll be too short. And they'll have no protection from bugs, from the sun, and things like that. So pay attention to how thick your dog's coat is. And don't go, if it is thick, don't go any shorter than a 7, but I recommend a 1/4 of an inch guard comb. I think that is the perfect summer cut for most all breeds. And it's short. You'll see it. You'll see that's a short haircut. It really is. It cools down the dog, but it still gives them enough coat to protect them. So let's get your questions answered. Let me come in here and scroll up. Boy, we got a busy chat. Look at you guys. Thank you so much for joining me here. There's 77 of you, it says. That's awesome. I love it. All right, so summer haircut. Boy, just in time to have this topic. We really needed to discuss this. All right, so I see here Adventures of Topher says, suggested blade size for a 6-month-old Yorkie summer cut. 6 months old is still pretty young, meaning they don't fully have their adult coat until they're like almost 2 years old. But they're getting their adult coat for sure at 6 months old. By 8 months, a year, yeah, it's pretty much there. So I don't like to go too hard at it. Even at 6 months, I would highly suggest that even the 1/4 of an inch, the 1/4 of an inch is going to be okay. And that is short. You're going to say, oh yeah, that's a summer cut. It's not too short. It's still leaving enough to protect his little baby skin. He's got baby skin. He's only 6 months old. But maybe before you go for the 1/4 of an inch, why don't you just give the 3/8 of an inch a try first and see what you think. And then say, yeah, actually, maybe that's enough. It's short enough. If you don't think, maybe then you can go with a 1/4 of an inch. The 1/4 of an inch is safe. But I don't like taking puppies that short because they still have baby skin. So I would tend to want to go with at least a 3/8 or a 1/2 inch guard comb. And your sizes are always marked on your guard combs. If they're not there, they're written on the inside somewhere, so you can find them, or you can go to the website where you bought them. I have hair sticking in my face. You can go to the website where you bought them, and they usually have them identified in measurements as along with the numbers that they have them identified as, like that too. So that's my suggestion. I hope that helps you. It is a Yorkie, so we know they have thinner coat. So be careful about that. It means their skin can be exposed a little easier than a dog that has a thicker coat when we go short. It could be still exposing a lot of skin there. So let me look for Christine's here and has a Cocker. I thought so, Christine. You're a channel member. We talked about your Cocker Spaniel. So happy to be here with Cooper, my Cocker Spaniel. We will need a summer cut next week. I bet, because your Spaniel's getting to be, like 8 months old or so. I think he's not a puppy anymore. I mean, that's still a puppy. But yeah, you're probably ready to do some. I would try, Christine, just start with 1/4 of an inch, because at least that's still a nice layer of fur to protect him. And it is going to be a noticeable difference of short haircut. You'll notice it, trust me. But maybe that, because Cocker Spaniels do grow very fast, so it will grow back in time for fall when it's time to start growing him out just a little bit more for the colder months. So I'm just scrolling and looking and seeing all you lovely people in here tonight, looking for questions. I see Joanne has a question. Says, do you use skip tooth blades for grooming a standard poodle? I'm glad you asked the question, Joanne, because it gives me the opportunity to tell you and everybody, never use skip tooth blades. Okay? Don't do it. It is very easy to catch skin in between the teeth of those blades, and it happens. They're very pointy too because they're missing every other tooth. So the blades, not the guard combs. I'm talking about blades, skip tooth blades. No, don't use them. There's no reason to. I don't even know why they're still on the market. I know newer companies like Joy Z just came out with a whole line of blades, and I'm loving the Joy Z blades. Unless I missed something, I'm sure they don't even make a skip tooth blade. And they're like, no, not necessary. So I guess some of the companies that have been making blades or have a heavy stock of them still have them available, but don't use them, Joanne. There's a misconception in my mind of why they were even created in the first place and what we were supposed to be using them for. I took those suggestions years and years ago as to why I would have skip tooth blades and when would I use them, and I did have some. And I found them to be very dangerous and would nick dogs' skin, and I was being very careful, whereas if I was using a regular 7-blade, it would have never happened. So don't do it. Don't use them. That's just all boycott the skip tooth blades. Can we make a pact? Can we do that? I'm going to salute us to making a pact to never, ever using skip tooth blades. And maybe eventually they'll all end up somewhere in the blade graveyard with all the other blades that don't work anymore. Okay, no skip tooth. Glad you asked. Very glad, because you gave me the opportunity to say that. And I want you to be armed for success when you are trimming your dog, for sure. All right, I'm just looking for more questions here from you guys. You awesome people. Lois, I see Lois has a question. I think I'm following suit here. Okay, Lois, who is also a channel member, thank you, Lois, says, I watched 2 of your Shih Tzu videos on face trimming before I groomed Squirt today. Her face is the cutest yet on my grooming table. I think I'm starting to get the hang of this. Well, yes, you are. You know why? Because you keep practicing. You keep putting Squirt on the table and saying, Squirt, I really messed this up last time, but I've studied and I'm ready to give it another try. And you do, Lois, you're a channel member, so you're armed with all kinds of great notes that you can refer to from my channel members that I give to my channel members. So you are armed with all the things. You just have to practice now. That's what will perfect your trims each time. But I'm so happy to hear that you feel you've improved, because we're pretty hard to say too fast that I did a good job, right? So if you said that, you must feel proud and good for you. And it will keep improving. And always look at your grooms after you do them and assess them. I tell you this all the time, guys. Assess your work before, so assess what you think you want to do, and then assess the work afterwards and say, that was a wrong decision. I should have used, a longer guard comb on the body. My dog looks too short, or whatever. And that's okay. You'll fix it the next time. But always assess your grooms before you get down to it and say, okay, I'm going to use 1/4 of an inch on the body and legs, and I'm going to use a 5/8 inch on the head. And go. Groom your dog. Brush him, comb him all out afterwards, standing there, let him walk around and look at him and go, that was a bad decision. I'm not using the 1/4 inch again, or whatever. Make your notes. And Lois, you know all about that because you're a Hound channel member, and that's what we've been talking about for the last 2 months. And I am getting ready to release our last video this Sunday, guys, on our series of 3 videos on how to fix a bad haircut, or how to transition a dog from one haircut to another haircut. So that last video is coming out Sunday. That was a fun series. I really enjoyed it. I think it's a great idea that you always have those to refer to too. It's kind of why I wanted to make them, so they'll always be there for you guys to refer to. So it worked out the way I wanted to. Sean's here from SVCC Toy Schnauzers. She is up to her ears in little baby Schnauzer puppies. Sean, you've been so busy. We've been watching you. I'm so proud of you. I don't know when you sleep, but you are Wonder Woman. Sean says, yes, I got the guard combs that you suggested, and wow, they are great, especially when doing the teddy bear cuts. Yes, and if I remember correctly, Sean, you got the 3/8 inch on the body and the legs, and the 5/8 inch that you're doing to set the head length and the muzzle and the cheeks. And we did that together when we worked together here, and it looked great. So I think you got the right one, baby. I think you got it down. Christine says, Amy, if I don't want to go shorter than 1/2 inch on my Cocker Spaniel, should I use a blade or a guard comb? I have both. Good question, Christine. Honestly, remember, Cocker Spaniels have a little bit of a wave, a drop coat. They do have a drop coat. Blades versus guard combs. Blades are harder to make pretty on a drop coat. You really got to be on your game. Guard combs, I feel, are a little more forgiving as far as if you kind of go in the wrong direction. You'll see it so much more with a blade, like the lines and the tracks, than you would on a guard comb. And with your guard combs, you can smooth it down, go over and over and over it several times and smooth it down and make it look nice. You can, Christine, if you're not comfortable saying, I don't know, like 1/4 of an inch, I don't know, go with the 1/2 inch. Do it. And then say, yeah, I like it, or no, I don't. But at least you didn't go too short first and then regret it. I mean, it will grow back. It is a Cocker Spaniel, and they do grow fast. But, maybe just do the 1/2 inch if that's what you're feeling. Then I think that's what you should do. Because it sounds like you're a little hesitant to go as short as 1/4 of an inch, and you may have sticker shock. We don't want you to have sticker shock. So try the 1/2 inch. Maybe meet somewhere in the middle and use the 3/8 inch instead of the 1/2 inch. It's slightly shorter than a 1/2 inch. The 1/2 inch, it's just not going to do much on the legs of your Cocker Spaniel, but it'll be a nice fuzzy little look. You can give it a shot. Adventure of Topher says, what's a pattern set? Wow, that's a fantastic question. Okay, a pattern set is Have you watched any of my Schnauzer videos? Especially when I'm grooming a traditional Schnauzer. I did one with Grace. I have several videos on my channel grooming Ellie Grace, the black and white, the beautiful black and white. Ellie Grace, are you listening to me? She always watches me. Ellie Grace, bark, 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 go crazy. You can hear me. My mom's like, you're a jerk. Ellie's going, bow, 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 bow. Okay, anyway, Ellie Grace, I have several videos on my channel. The little black and white party Schnauzer. We call her the party girl, right, Sean? And I have many videos of setting a pattern with her. A pattern set, a Schnauzer has a distinct pattern set. They have a distinct where you drop off with your short clipper work and blend into furnishings. That's what a pattern set is. But there is a rhyme and reason for how you set the pattern set on a Schnauzer or on a Cocker Spaniel. So it's the shorter clipped area on a Cocker Spaniel, and then the furnishings drape down out of that, which is then either hand scissored or you would use a guard comb to set some of that length. So the pattern set is where you're stopping your short clipper work and why you're stopping it there. It's for breed specific trims is when you would do a pattern set. So if you don't understand really, if you want to really get a clear understanding, definitely go watch my video with Grace, the black Schnauzer, and I think it was Schnauzer, mini Schnauzer full groom is what the thumbnail is, and you'll understand what I mean with pattern set. But if you're just doing like a overall generic trim, meaning I'm just trimming everything the same length on the body and the legs, that's just a trim. It's also considered a teddy bear trim. The teddy bear trim is the head style more than anything, but it is also a fuzzy, fluffy body, that is kind of consistent with the same length on the body and the legs. So, and I do have a good video on my channel that is the teddy bear haircut video. So that'll explain a lot of things for you too. But yeah, so watch the Schnauzer videos. You'll understand. You'll see visually what I'm talking about. What's a pattern set? Okay. So Lois says, would it be the same for a giant Schnauzer? Yeah, Lois. Yep, definitely for the furnishings and chest. It's the same. Yes. The pattern set on a giant Schnauzer is basically the same as it is on a miniature Schnauzer. So typically I would set a giant Schnauzer's pattern with a 7 blade, and more times than 10 I would just be hand scissoring the furnishings and the legs and what hangs down off the chest. I would usually hand scissor that, but there is a rhyme and reason to that. And if you watch my Schnauzer video, you'll understand how I determine what I scissor and what length. Or you could use a guard comb, a longer guard comb, like a 5/8, to do the furnishings and the legs on a giant Schnauzer. That would be okay. It would be a nice little pet trim. That'd be okay. So, good question. Deborah Douglas says, whoa, it jumped around on me. Hi, I was wondering about your opinion of the Wall KM Plus cordless clipper. The new Wall KM clipper, I think is what you're talking about. Thank you for explaining the 7 blade and how it works. My pleasure. Absolutely. No problem, Deborah. The new Wall clipper, Wall has a couple new clippers. They have an Inspire. I haven't tried it. I think it looks like it would be a great clipper. They also have this new one called the KM, is it the KM Plus? Itchy. I got hair stuck to me. And from what I see, I did some research on it, because I love the Wall KM cordless and the Wall KM10, which is the corded version of this. I love them, and they're still my favorite. So the difference is the new one, the KM Plus, actually has more speed, more RPMs. You're never really going to need more RPMs. This guy's very powerful. This clipper and the new one both have good torque. For a beginner, I don't think I would ever suggest anybody get the KM Plus, the higher speed. It can be used to groom horses and cows too. I mean, I guess that's what they were aiming for. But It also has a slightly different body housing style, so it will feel a little different in your hand. I will be holding it and testing it at the show in Hershey in September, so I will feel how balanced is it, because that's one of the things that I love about the KM10 and the KM is it is such a well-balanced clipper. It just naturally balances the weight, so I don't feel top heavy or back heavy when I'm clipping. I just feel it's very easy to use it. So I'm going to check that one out. It is a cordless clipper too, the new Wall KM Plus. But it does have a slightly different shape to the body that's supposed to feel good to people. So I look at it, it looks really boxy to me. It looks to me like I wouldn't think it felt better than this. This guy's got a figure. You see that? Like a beautiful figure. And for a reason, for the balance. So I don't see that visually when I look at the new Wall KM Plus, that it would be as balanced. But maybe it is. So I will feel it, hold it, caress it, turn it on, play with it, do all the things. I will check it out at Hershey when I would checking out a lot of new things at Hershey, because that's one of the biggest reasons I like to go there, is to really get in tune with what's new on the market and what is it truly like. I don't want to just look at a picture online. I want to see it. I want to hold it, and I want to make some decisions by, feeling what these tools are like in my hand. That's one of the biggest reasons I like to go to the show. So Nisela says, Nicelia, ooh, okay, beautiful name, says, new to the channel, what size guard comb for a Shih Tzu summer cut? I would go with the 1/4 of an inch. A Shih Tzu has a pretty thick coat. So if you really want to cool them down, but you still want to leave enough that they have some protection, this is going to be a short haircut, but it's not going to be too short, which was the idea of this video, our topic tonight. Too short would be a 7, a 10. You can do a 7 on a Shih Tzu, but I wouldn't. There's no reason to. A 10 is too short. So just to set the record straight, guys, what is too short on a summer cut? A 10 blade is too short. It actually can cause the dog to get impacted hair follicles, where the skin starts to grow over the hair follicle because the skin grew faster than the hair because it was so short. It's just, and it leaves no barrier of protection of this, for these dogs. So I don't recommend using a 10 blade. And I know there are groomers that do use 10 blades, and I'm not going to say that they're horrible or anything like that. But what I will say is, in my experience, I've learned to know better, that is not a safe choice. And that's why I'm recommending it to you. So if you guys do take your dog to a groomer and you say, I want a summer cut, be certain to say, I do not want you to use a 10 blade to take it that short. I would prefer you use a 1/4 of an inch guard comb, or you can say, how about a number 5 blade? A number 5 blade will be a nice short summer cut, but not too short. So you can tell your groomer, let's go with a number 5 blade or a 1/4 of an inch guard comb. And I think those are going to be, that kind of helps you be able to communicate with your groomer to get yourself a safe summer cut, okay? Write it down, 1/4 of an inch or a number 5 blade. Those are definitely short haircuts. So back to your questions. Uncle Sam's niece, hi, good to see ya. Amy, perfect timing for this topic, 106. Oh my gosh. 106 is the high in my city in California today. That is so hot. I know your humidity may not be as bad as ours, but that's hot. That is hot. Got my first mini poodle to groom soon. Good for you. Poodles have always been one of my favorite things, even when I was learning to groom. I loved grooming poodles. I loved working with that coat. It's an easy coat to make pretty because it clips so nicely. You're going to love grooming your first mini poodle. Okay, so tips for easy to maintain length for not too technical but cute trim. Go with a number 4 blade would be great. Where's the number 4? Where you at? The number 4 blade looks great on a poodle. It's a short summer trim, but it's not too short, as you can see. Maybe even a 3/8 of an inch guard comb. That's going to be a little fuzzier than that. Or the 1/4 of an inch guard comb, which is going to be kind of close and comparable to your 4 blade. But I feel like on the poodle coats, the blades clip nice. Versus, remember earlier, guys, I said on a Maltese with a drop coat, I feel guard combs produce nicer, smoother work over a blade. On the poodle, blades produce beautiful, smooth clips. So try the 4. I think you'll like it. Definitely Uncle Sam's niece. I can't wait to hear how you enjoyed your first poodle trim. That was always one of my favorites to trim. Still is. I love doing poodle grooms. But they always clip so nicely and look so pretty. And they, when you fluff them all out and get them ready for the haircut, there's just the whole process is fun for me with a poodle. I love it. SVC Toy Schnauzers, that's our Sean, says, where there'll be a meetup at the Hershey show. I'd love to come too. Sean, that would be great. I definitely always make time to meet with people. I like to try to plan things and announce it either in our private Facebook group or on my community page on YouTube, or possibly I will announce something right before I go in a live stream. A place and a time, because what's nice is I like as many of us as possible to meet, because we see each other, and what's funny is when we get together, this one will say, well, I'm Uncle Sam's niece. Oh, well, I thought your name was Uncle Sam's niece. You know what I mean? It's like, no, we learn who everybody is, and it's really nice because you guys know each other too. So yes, Sean, I will definitely plan to do a little meetup for us. There's a really nice setup outside in the shade with tables right outside the main entrance of the convention center that I like to chill and take a breath and get out of the trade show, because the trade show at Hershey is so crowded. You have to wait to get into booths. You have to stand there and wait. It's so crowded. So I get a little bit like, I gotta walk away from this for a minute. It's just too much. People are stepping on me. I'm short. I gotta get out of here. I feel like a little chihuahua, So I go sit out there, and it's really nice because the tables are like tables that seat 8, and there's plenty of room for several people to sit down and chit chat. And so that's probably going to be where we would meet up at different times, and maybe I'll set a couple different times, maybe Friday at 4 p.m., blah, 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 right out front in the convention table at the round tables, and Saturday at 2 p.m. or something. I'll have to look at the schedule and see what competitions are going on and when we would, not want to pull somebody away from watching a grooming competition or something, because that's fun. A lot of people go there to watch that too. So yeah, of course, we'll set something up. Sean, that's great that you're going to be there. Just let me know what day you're going to be there too. But I will set something up definitely Friday and Saturday. Sunday is kind of a wing it day for me at the shows. So Friday and Saturday for sure. Well, guys, I believe that I have answered all your questions, and I hope so. And I hope that I've really helped you determine and have good peace of mind with what to choose for a summer cut for your dog, that isn't too short, it's still safe, it's still going to allow the fur to do its job for your dog, but still going to give the dog some relief from the heat. So that was my goal today. I hope that I've helped you with that. I can't wait to see you in the next live from the grooming table, which will be August 5th. So it's 2 weeks from now. Oh, hair is sticking to me. I must be sweaty or something. And 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, just like always. So I'll see you here same time, same place, August 5th. Channel members, my hounds, the 3rd video is coming out this Sunday, so keep an eye out for it. I think you're going to love it. It's going to close that whole series of 3 videos. If anybody is interested in becoming a channel member and having all this exclusive content available for $4.99 a month, you can click the join button and have at her. binge watch. You got a lot of catching up to do if you're just going to join now, because we've had a lot of lessons and there's a lot of content over there that's just for members only. So thank you guys. I hope everybody is and their pets are able to tolerate the heat no matter where you live or where, what the temperature is. I know it's hot for a lot of people, so but you're all smart. You know how to stay cool. You know how to keep your pets cool and comfortable, so I'm not worried about a thing here. I look forward to seeing you guys. We're going to watch the Farmer's Dog Super Bowl commercial that touched hearts across the land. That Super Bowl Sunday. We're going to watch the full commercial because I do have access to that. The reason I show that to you guys is because I am partnered with the Farmer's Dog, because I believe in it, because I feed my dog, my dogs, the Farmer's Dog, my mom's dog's the Farmer's Dog. I see the results for myself. Fresh food, there's nothing like it. Feeding your dog fresh whole foods, no preservatives. So it really, good food has a lot to do with the good health of our dogs. And the more we can do to preserve our dogs and help them live longer and be here for us, because it's all about us, right? The better. So if you'd like to try a free trial, I can offer you that. A free box of Farmer's Dog linked in the description below. But guess what? I will see you in 2 weeks. I love you dearly. Thank you for coming to see me on Monday live from the grooming table. Until then, long live dogs.
I'll always take care of you.
Slow down. I wanna hold you forever.
Hey, little bear bear.
I wanna love you forever.
Let's not do that again, okay?
Don't worry, darling, about the rest of our life. Through thick and thin, I'll be there by your side. 'Cause when I see those big, beautiful eyes looking into mine, I wanna hold you forever.
To have and to be from this day forward.
You forever.
Come on, bear.
Yes, I do now. Ooh.
I'm gonna love you forever.
Okay, bear.
Forever.